Hello, here presented is the fondly named 8 Movements for Health, or Cheng's 8 Movements for Health. It's a walking form of Qigong, particularly beneficial for skeletal issues. And what we need to know before we start is that it relies, as all Qigong does, on integral imaging. So when we are imagining, for example, that we are rowing forward in a boat, then we really feel and imagine the pressure of the water against the oars and against the boat. And perhaps in the last movements, when we are wading through deep water, we really feel the pressure of the water against us. Cheng's 8 Movements for Health. And so adopting the starting position for Qigong, known as standing like a tree, with the feet around shoulder or hip width apart and the feet facing forward in the way that you're going. Tuck the tailbone slightly under, that would be a gentle pelvic tilt. And also tuck the tailbone down, so imagine the tailbone is going straight down into the earth. Imagine the top of the head is moving towards the sky, softly and without any effort, and a little bit of space between the sides of the arms and the body. Let the breath descend into the lower belly. Shift the weight over onto one foot, and it doesn't matter which foot you start with, and really feel the weight going down through the leg and foot into the earth, wherever you are. And when that's okay, softly pick the other foot up and step forward very little, so don't step forward too far, just a couple of inches, and wide, so keep your stance wide. And when your heel is there, roll your foot down, but your weight is still on the back foot. And only when the whole of the foot is on the floor, then redistribute your weight down through the front foot, and then gradually pick the back foot up. And only when the weight is fully down through the other foot, place the foot carefully on the ground. Only when the whole sole of the foot is there, redistribute the weight. We do 4 steps forward and 4 steps back in this way. An image that is sometimes helpful is to imagine that you are walking across a lake covered with ice, and you're not too sure whether it's safe, and therefore unless the whole foot is on the surface of the ice, you don't commit your weight. Let's go for another step. So shifting the weight to the forward, rolling the foot up. Create balance by sending your weight firmly down on that side and stepping forward just a little bit, rolling the foot down. And when you can feel that every toe and every part of the sole of the foot is down, only then do you commit the weight forward. When that's done, roll the foot up and send that foot forward, sole down. Let your toes be like fingers and feel their way across the surface of the earth. So you get more surface on the ice, as it were, and then stepping forward. Pick the foot up for our final step forward, and commit the weight. Picking the foot up and just coming back into parallel for a moment, so we go backwards now. Okay, so settle yourself for a moment, and when you get used to the practice you won't even need to stop. You just go straight, sending your weight down through one foot, a really little way backwards, and this is trickier. Yeah, so this is a challenge, and could be you won't get your own whole foot on the surface. Just see how it goes, but as much of the foot lands on the surface as it can, and then shift your weight. Really feel the weight go down, shift the other foot back to just behind, just a few inches behind. Stay wide, so I'm a little bit narrow now, so I'm going to just adjust that, and that will happen. Stepping forward, wide and not too far. Sorry, stepping back, wide and not too far, keeping tailbone tucked under, keeping the weight on that back leg, fully experiencing that before you step backwards, rolling the foot down, committing the weight. And so around 4 steps. And then land back in what's known as standing like a tree. Next movement is called wearing the moon as a cap, and we're asked here to imagine that we've got something balancing on the top of our head, like the moon. So we don't want the moon to topple off one way or the other, or forwards or backwards. But make that a soft intention rather than a rigid instruction. So a soft intention. And we walk in exactly the same way, but we have the intention to keep something on our head. Once again, the instructions are the same for the lower body. If your mind starts to wander, or if the movement just becomes rhythmic, gently bring yourself back to the instruction to commit the weight, and only then to feel the other foot landing before you commit the weight. Simple instruction. And then when you have done your 4 steps back, then land in the standing like a tree position. We're going to do that again. This time we are using an upper body movement as well. So you start off with the hands as if they're holding something here, and then as you shift the weight and again step forward, balancing the moon as a cap, so this gets more complex, we widen that, widen the arms, and we come back as we commit the weight, roll the ball, and then opening, committing the weight, rolling up at the back foot, commit the weight, rolling up at the back foot, If you need to stop for a moment, then please do. If not, then just go straight backwards for 4 steps. Commit the weight. And it's not necessary to get the movement exactly right. There are no instructions such as, the angle of the hand or the amount that the arm comes up or out. It's really the image, and the image is called Fair Lady Set Sail. So it's as if you are opening a sail to the wind and then closing it up again, and then opening it in the other direction. And it's the image that's more important than the actual getting the movement right. Okay, so here we go again. Start standing like a tree. So we have the same instructions of moving across in the way that we have been doing, of balancing the moon on the top of our head. And this time we're going to row forward. So start again, shift the weight, and so on. All those instructions still in place. And then as if you are pulling yourself forward as a boat would go through water. And then so this is movement 4. And then we go the other way as we go back. Once again, no necessity to get the movement right. It's just the feeling of moving through water, through a body of water. So actually encourage your muscles to engage with that image. Maybe you feel slightly as if you're going through water rather than air with your hands. Use the image. Quite difficult to do this and talk at the same time, I'm finding. So I hope the essence is coming through the movement. Lovely. And movement 5. So starting off, settling yourself if you need to. Step back a bit. Movement 5, those of you who've done Tai Chi, it's a typical one. It's cloud hands. So this is cloud hands. You're just playing around in the clouds. Yeah, the hand comes one way and then the arms swap over and they come the other way. Just maybe if you're new to this, do this a few times. And then you add the step. So, you're 4 steps forward, all the instructions are still the same, and you're stepping back as well. the next movement, movement 6. Imagine that you're standing on the edge of a precipice, so there's a drop before you. If that's disturbing, then just miss that bit and you're just standing in open space, it's fine. But if you can imagine that, then shift the weight, and we do some stepping. So one hand and the opposite foot come up, so this is stepping. And if your balance is not great today, then you can leave your toe on the ground. And let's include the breath in this. So as your foot comes up or the toe is just balancing on the ground, that's the in-breath. And as you transfer your weight, that's your natural out-breath. All of Cheng's walking exercises can be done in time with the breath. And I'd say there's no specific instructions, so if you want to do it in time with the breath, that's wonderful. Make sure it's your natural in and out breath. Okay, let's give some attention to this. So you're on a precipice, if that's comfortable for you. Really imagine how strong your balance is. Wearing the moon as a cap. Really going down into the earth to anchor yourself there safely before picking the other foot up. Anchor yourself down and pick the other foot up. We do around 8 of these movements. Movement 7. Imagine now that you're in a fairly deep river, and make it a comfortable temperature. Maybe you're in some sunny clime. Doesn't have to be cold, but it's quite strong, and the current is coming towards you. We're still wearing the moon as a cap. We're still maybe breathing in the lower belly, or doing it if you like in time with the breath. But here's the movement. Exactly the same as walking on the ice, but the imagination is different. The imagining is different. Now you're moving through the river, again placing your foot down before you move the other one. Place your foot, then get safe on the riverbed before you move forward. But you've got this added thing of the current coming towards you. But you're so solidly rooted on that foot that the current won't knock you off as you step forward on the other foot. Progress forward, commit the weight before you roll up with the other foot. For around 4 steps forward. And then imagine that the current changes and it's from behind now. This is actually our 8th movement. So really get into the fact that you're walking into the current, albeit backwards. But again, you're so solidly rooted now, able to spread your feet on the riverbed, able to descend your tailbone and your feet down into the earth, that the current's not going to knock you over. And you're taking such small and wide steps that everything's safe for you. This is also the whole of 8 movements for health is a falls prevention form, and it's very similar to mainstream falls prevention. So it would be good for anybody who has compromised balance or who's had some kind of accident. And I'll just come back to the standing like a tree and explain that if we lose our confidence in walking, often we can be like this, which is counterproductive to negotiating gravity. And so if you know anybody like that, then a few practices like 8 chains walking, which encourage us to come into the vertical, are very good. Thank you for watching.